What's going on YouTube? So Mitsubishi might not be the first car company you think of, but they are in the midst of a big brand revamp right now. One of the key elements of that is this, the all-new 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander. Fully redesigned from the ground up, this new generation is taking the brand to a new level of technology, style, and value, now based on the already excellent Nissan Rogue. So is this Underdog actually one of the best offerings in this competitive segment? Let's go ahead and find out. So since this is one of the first key elements of this big Mitsubishi brand revamp, you'll notice that not a lot of the design is shared with any of the other Mitsubishis in the lineup. Up in the front, we have a large version of their grille. This is going to be finished in black with the silver accents that run through it, of course. And then over here you do have the silver trim that runs around it, giving this a very distinct look. Now you notice in the intro I did say that, of course, it does now share some elements with the Nissan Rogue since they're related to each other corporately, but you'll notice no elements that are shared in terms of the design itself. Now let's come over here to our headlights. This is another distinct element for this model. We've got the split design, so we have three different elements here. First and foremost, standard LED headlights on all of the models. These are reflector beam for low and high beams, and it's located right here in this central section. Up top, we have LED daytime running lights as well as turn signal indicators. And then below that, we have the LED fog lamps, but that's going to be just on the upper end models. So this Outlander does have a lot of value baked into it, and one of those value-packed features are these wheels. I was very surprised to learn that these 20-inch contrast alloy wheels are actually standard on all but the base model. That's a very impressive piece of equipment. You can actually get these optional on the base model if you want, and for comparison's sake, this is actually larger than the biggest size you can get on the Rogue, even with the top trim level. Now as we move on up here to our mirrors, you are going to have standard blind spot monitoring built into it. As you go up the trim, one more, you're going to get heating. When you get to the black edition, it would have a nice black finish, which would match nicely with the blacked out pillar you have here. And then finally, with the SEL, that's where you'll add power folding.
So let's talk about how the Mitsubishi Outlander fits into the segment in terms of length. So we're looking at 185.4 inches in overall length, which does place this a little bit longer than something like the Nissan Rogue, which of course this does share a platform with. It's just a few inches longer, and I think it's a few inches longer than the vast majority of the segment as well, like something like a Toyota RAV4. I do also want to point out a few elements for something like this higher end SEL touring model. You have the lower body color moldings here, however the wheel arches are still going to remain in the matte black plastic to give it a rugged look, and you are also going to have these roof rails up top. Now let's walk around to the rear design. I think this is my favorite element about the Outlander's overall look is this rear, because I think it just overall has a very classy and elegant look. Like, they didn't try and overstyle it or anything, it just looks good. It has a lot of cool elements going on. So let's break down a few of those elements. We have our wiper up top, then our taillights. These are my favorite part. The taillights are going to have all of the really nice LED accenting. We also have an LED brake light component. However, your turn signal as well as your reverse light are going to be incandescent. If we drop down to the lower area, we do not have exposed exhaust outlets on any single Outlander model. However, they have kind of made the faux tips with the design here. As far as your tow rating, you're looking at 2,000 pounds on every single model. Now on the Outlander, they have made safety as well as your warranty a priority. So let's go ahead and talk about those elements. So for your safety systems, you will have standard forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection as well as auto high beam headlamps on every single Outlander model. If you go for at least the SE trim level and above, that will further throw in adaptive cruise control as well as lane keeping assist. And I did also forget to mention you have rear auto braking on every single Outlander as well. Now for your warranties, we are looking at one of the best in the business, 5-year 60,000 mile basic warranty, 10-year 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. So that's of course really good. You do not have any complimentary maintenance, however. But guys, that's going to wrap up the exterior of this Outlander. Now let's go ahead and check out the really luxurious interior. I think you're going to be impressed.
So walking up to the Outlander, all but the base model will come with the intelligent entry system. And to get inside, you're just going to press the black button to unlock the door. Now you probably noticed as I panned through that this is a very beautifully finished cabin. So let's go ahead and talk about what this is as well as our other material and color choices. So if we start out on our base ES trim level, that's going to come with a cloth seat. The SE and the Black Edition, those will come with leatherette. And then when you get to the SEL, that will get you real leather. However, what we have on this model is actually a very premium material for this class of vehicle, really for any class of vehicle. Actually, we have the SEL with the touring package. When you get that, that's going to throw in semi-aniline leather, which is one of the nicest grades of leather you can get in any type of vehicle. And it does come with this exclusive color choice, which is going to be black with the tan accents. So as you can see, all throughout this seat, we have the quilting design that runs through here in the tan, the color contrast stitching, and then we've got tan accents all throughout the cabin, which I'll point out in just a second. As far as the seats themselves though, the leather quality is superb, feels beautiful to touch, very comfortable seat as well. And in terms of the seating adjustments, they're going to be 8-way power adjusting on all but the base model with 2-way lumbar support. But let's go ahead and kind of look around at the broader materials inside of the cabin. Like I was mentioning, beautifully finished. So we have the tan leather across the armrest portion. We have leather all through here, all the way up to the upper part, which is very nice. Stitching detail and quilting detail to match with those seats. Over here, we've got our 2-person memory seating. That starts on the SEL trim level. And then all 4 of our windows are one-touch automatic, and they've got this kind of faux aluminum texture on them. As we move on up the dash, all the upper portion is going to be finished in a nice soft touch plastic. And as we move to the center portion, all of this is finished in a leatherette with the stitching detail. We've got piano black accents, then we have another layer of leatherette, this finished again in the color contrast tan, which looks very nice. So piano black accents, and then finishing it off, we have a nice pad of leather along the console here to rest your knee against, as well as this nice looking silver trim. So all in all, very impressive cabin. Now to start it up, put your foot on the brake and press the standard button. And right from the start, you will be greeted with a premium interior feature, and that is this digital gauge cluster. So the normal trim levels, you're going to come standard with a 7-inch multifunction display. However, when you choose the SEL trim level, that's going to get you this 12.3-inch full reconfigurable gauge cluster. I have to say, this has really wonderful graphics. Just a few short years ago, graphic quality this good would be reserved for something like Audi's virtual cockpit. And of course, you have the typical features like being able to change the view to like a really cool modern design, or you can go for the more classic look that I was just on. Now, in addition to that, when you choose this fully loaded SEL with touring package, that's also going to throw in this head-up display, which is pretty rare for this segment. Now as we pull back to the steering wheel, we do have a Mitsubishi design here. Nice perforated leather on the side. It is going to be leather trimmed on all but the base model. And of course, in terms of the adjustment, is going to be manual adjusting. When you choose the touring package to the SEL, that's going to throw in the steering wheel heating. Well, let's go ahead and check out interior storage, because that of course is very, very important for a family vehicle such as this. So underneath of our tan leather console here, we have a pretty decent amount of storage. It's not the widest in the segment, but it does go down pretty deep. There is a felt lining down there at the bottom. And let's put it to the test. Here's our stack of coupons. Looks like they're gonna fit in there when we fold them slightly sideways here. Let's make sure it locks in though. Yep, so it does fit in there pretty good. Of course, in front of that, you got your 2 cup holders. In the front here, I'm surprised to say that you actually do get a wireless phone charging pad on all but the base model, so that's a nice touch. Rubber line for your phone to set on. You do have 2 USB connections, a 12-volt outlet, and then this is not a pass-through, but you do have a little bit more storage along the side. Now, checking out the shifter, just like with the Nissan Rogue, you do have an electronic shifter. The design itself is a little bit different, but the operation is exactly the same. You're gonna pull back for drive. You can pull back once more if you want to go into a manual mode where you can shift through some simulated gear changes with these paddle shifters. And then of course push up to the R for reverse, and when you do, I am surprised to say you will be greeted with a 360-degree camera system on the vast majority of trim levels. Actually, all but the base model will come with the 360-degree camera system. So as you can see, nice looking resolution on board here. It does have active trajectory. There's your 360 view. It's got moving object detection because this is basically the same as Nissan's around view monitor system. And then you do have 360-degree parking sensors as well. And then for park, you're just gonna press the P. Right off to the side of that, you have your electronic parking brake as well as your brake hold function. Now, while I'm in this area, I do wanna pan over here to our drive mode controller. With the all-wheel drive system, you've got several different terrain modes that you can pick between, and also a hill descent control. And when you cycle between these, you do get a really cool animation up there on the display to show you which mode you're in, so you know what to expect. Well, let's go ahead and take a look up here at our climate controls next. So we do have a standard dual zone automatic climate control. When you choose the SEL, that's going to get you this 3-zone automatic climate control setup. So you can adjust, of course, your driver and passenger right with these big knobs. You can adjust the rear independently with that controller, and everything is nice and simple to use here. We do also have 3-stage heated seats that's included on all but the base model. However, seat ventilation is not available on the Outlander. And moving on up here to our audio controls. So with this, you do have a 6-speaker sound system as standard equipment. However, optional on the SE and the SEL trim levels will be the Bose 10-speaker premium sound system. That's what we have today, so let's go ahead and give it a sample. Yeah, so overall sound quality is definitely quite nice. I particularly like the bass, and it fills up the cabin nicely with the sound quality. Okay, so let's talk the display situation here. So this is actually something I noticed that is pretty nice compared to its sibling, the Nissan Rogue. So with this, you have the 8-inch display standard on just the base ES trim level. However, everything else is going to come with this enhanced 9-inch display. So if you're comparing this to the Rogue, you would have to go up the trim structure quite a bit more to get that larger 9-inch display. Additionally, the 9-inch display comes with a few advantages. So first, you do have the built-in navigation system on every model with the 9-inch display, so that's what that's going to look like. The other big benefit is that all models with both screen sizes will come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, to be clear, but when you get this 9-inch display, you're going to have wireless CarPlay thrown in on top of that, so that's a nice feature to have. Now moving beyond the display, we do have the auto dimming mirror. This is standard on SEL. It is also available as an option on the SE model. Top here we do have some incandescent lighting, a nice sunglass holder, and then up at the very top we have the panoramic sunroof. So this is a nice size unit. It goes all the way back to the second row headrest. Of course, the front panel does open up, and this is going to be optional on the SEL that we have today via the Touring package. You can also add it to the SE as well.
Well guys, come check out the rear area of the Mitsubishi Outlander. Now of course this is a family focused vehicle, so this is a very important part about this car. So let's talk about these space figures first. We have 39.9 inches of rear legroom, 39.1 inches of rear headroom. Those are really solid figures for the class. That does actually make it larger than the Nissan Rogue and larger than the vast majority of the competition. So you're really looking at a good amount of space back here. Behind rear seating position, I'm looking at, I'd say, 8 inches of legroom between my knees and the seat back. I'm 5'9", Drew's 5'8", and my feet can slide easily up underneath the seat. So really quite comfortable in terms of the area back here. I can also recline as well as slide these seats forward and back. Now, let's talk about other things. So we do have the vents here in the middle. That is going to be actually standard equipment on every single Outlander, which is a really nice touch. That said, if you want the 3-zone climate, you will have to go for at least the SEL trim level. However, that is a very, very, very rare feature to have on anything in this segment. The Nissan Rogue's really the only other vehicle you can get in this segment that has that. Off to the left and right side, we do also have 3-stage heated rear seats. That is also included on the SEL trims and above. Further below that, we have a USB-C as well as a USB-A. Now, as far as other features, if you want to fold down the center armrest here, you can do that. Just pull that little strap, and then that will give you this whole nice area with cup holders inside. It's also wrapped in that nice semi-aniline leather. Then look at your door trim. Once again, really, really nice. I'm very impressed. So first of all, we have the quilted pattern all over this whole area. It's all nicely leather wrapped. We have the nice color contrast for the armrest. And we're also going to have power sunshade, or not power sunshades, regular sunshades. And that is going to be included on that touring package on the SEL. So that's another rare feature to see in this segment. And we do have bottle holders down in the bottom. Alright guys, so I want to talk to you about a really unique element about the Mitsubishi Outlander, and that's that we have a third row standard equipment on every single model. So that makes it one of the only available vehicles in this entire class to have a third row, and I believe it might be the only one that has it standard on every single model. Now in order to get back here, all you have to do is locate this little lever right here. That will fold the seat back forward. However, you have to kind of slide the seat manually. It doesn't have like a one-touch mechanism or anything to fold the seat, so it is a little bit harder to get back there than I would like. And considering I now have a slight knee injury, I'm not going to try and get back here to the third row because it does look quite tight. If you're looking for an actual space measure, you're looking at 18 inches of legroom. That's obviously not a lot of space. It's going to be pretty much for emergencies only. However, it is still a really nice feature to have Mitsubishi throw in on every single model, just in case you need that extra space for a child or something in the third row. All right, and let's go ahead and walk up to your tailgate. Now, if you go for at least the SE trim level or above, you will have a hands-free power tailgate, which is, of course, a nice touch. So just wave your foot under the bumper to open it up. All right, let's go ahead and talk about this space back here. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by this figure as well. We're looking at 11.7 cubic feet behind the third row seats. If we fold those seats down, you're going to have 33.5 cubic feet, and then as a maximum, you're having just a touch under 80 cubic feet. I think it's like 79.5 cubic feet of maximum cargo capacity. That makes this one of the largest offerings in the entire segment. I believe it might be the largest offering in the entire segment. It's really quite impressive, and that is even with this third row in place. So that's really quite cool. Now, as far as how to fold the third row, you just locate this little lever right here. They have made it really easy. Just locate that, fold her down, and then you do have handles on each side to fold the second row. So you just pull that, and then that will fold that down and give you that near 80 cubic feet of cargo capacity, which is really cool. I also want to mention that the second row there, you do have that folding down middle area, so you kind of have 40-20-40 split folding seats for the second row. And then lifting up the floor here, there are your headrests for the third row. You have that little bit of additional space down here. I do not believe there is a spare tire though, and we do also have some lighting on the sides. Now your passenger seat is actually going to be power adjusting for the higher end models like what we have today, which that does also make this one of the only things in the segment that offers that as a feature. We have a little bit of storage here by my left knee, and then If we open up the glove box, this is going to be a good sized glove box for the segment. You know, that means we can fit in our coupons. So whether you want your pizza or your Arby's, whatever, you can fit it in there, no problem whatsoever. And then up top, we have a sun visor, we have some lighting, we also have a mirror. We can also detach the visor as well and extend it.
Okay, so there we are, up to 60 miles per hour with this 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander. So of course, as you know at this point in the video, like we mentioned, since Nissan and Mitsubishi are now corporate siblings, there are some similarities. The biggest aspect, of course, is kind of, you know, what's under the hood, or what was under the hood, I should say, rather. So what we have is a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. It's going to be naturally aspirated. We have 181 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque, so it's very easy for me to remember in this review. And those are pretty decent power numbers. That's competitive in this segment. Certainly not the best, but also not the least amount of power. And what I was saying was, in the former tense, that's because if you watched our 2022 Nissan Rogue review, you'll know that they actually switched to a turbo 3-cylinder for this model year. As of now, this does still have its previous powertrain. No word on whether they're going to also switch this Outlander to that turbo 3-cylinder, but obviously that does mean at the current time it is going to have less power than that turbo 3-cylinder in the Nissan Rogue. Yeah, acceleration is certainly not going to blow you away, but it is perfectly adequate for this kind of vehicle. Now, you probably also were noticing the transmission at work. This does come with a continuously variable transmission, and just like with the Nissan products, it does have what they call D-step logic, which is a shift simulation. So when you're hard on the throttle, like I just was, you will have that simulation play out with the tachometer. Just giving you a more of a traditional feel, which I do appreciate. And in terms of your drivetrains, you are going to have standard front-wheel drive and available all-wheel drive with those drive modes that I was showing you earlier.
Yeah, and as far as your fuel economy is concerned, since we do not have that new Rogue 3-cylinder engine, that does mean that we are going to be quite a bit behind that new Rogue's fuel economy figures. To be exact, we're 5 mpg combined worse than the new Rogue's engine. However, it is still pretty competitive figures for the segment. So we're looking at 27 miles a gallon combined with front-wheel drive, 26 miles a gallon combined with all-wheel drive.
And it is worth noting, when we make that comparison, the 2022 Rogue with a 3-cylinder is the class leader in terms of the non-hybrid fuel economy. So when you make that distinguishing, like Mason was saying, it is competitive still in the segment.
Alright, but let's go ahead and talk about the ride quality of the Outlander. Now, just sitting in this passenger seat and riding along for the last little bit here, I've been very impressed with the overall ride quality. I mean, it really does feel like I'm in a Rogue, which is certainly a compliment. Even with these large 20-inch wheels, you might think that the ride quality would be kind of, reduced for having those big, stylish wheels, but it really isn't. Overall, it's just extremely comfortable. They've really nailed the overall family mission going on here. And I do want to get a sound level reading as well of us going 55 here.
That's a good demonstration of the ride quality. Yeah, it takes it well. It might be just a touch less comfortable than a Rogue, but I mean, it's
splitting hairs.
Yeah,
really.
Splitting hairs.
56.3 is the reading I'm getting, which is also a very, very solid figure. A lot of cars we test, even luxury cars, are sitting right around that area. Now, I also want to mention our Slam Dunk and Air Ball. Here we are in Kentucky. Let's go ahead and do one of our signature elements. Slam Dunk has got to be this interior for me, especially with this fully loaded touring model. We're talking about this. We think this might be the best offering in the entire segment in terms of luxury. It's really, really nice. So the semi-aniline leather is great. You have a ton of features that are really class exclusive as well. They've nailed the interior here.
Now, as far as the airball is concerned, Mason and I talked about it, and we decided the front end. Of course, styling is very subjective, so take that as you will, but I would just say it's kind of a bold design, somewhat controversial, so unlike some of this vehicle's rivals, which may kind of blend in and be appealing to a really wide set of people, this one here might either offend you or you might really love it. So it just kind of depends on your perspective on it, but it definitely is a bold look up in the front.
All right, and let's go ahead and talk about the pricing for this Outlander. So the ES model is going to start at $26,495. That is with front-wheel drive, and then if you want all-wheel drive, that's an additional $1,800 on every model. Now, this particular model is pretty much as fully loaded as you can get it. We have all-wheel drive. We also have that SEL Touring package, as well as a few other just general accessories. And then when you add the destination charge of $1,295, we're looking at $38,795 as equipped.
So if you've been around on our channel for a while, you actually will know that this is our first Mitsubishi that has ever been on this channel. And, we really didn't know what to expect coming into this. I have to say, though, being here with this vehicle, spending the day with it, I think both of us are quite impressed by this. Of course, having the foundation of a Nissan Rogue and the technology that is basically from that model is definitely a great place to start. But the stuff that Mitsubishi has done to make this unique and different has all really been in the positive direction. And to combine that with one of the best cabins in the entire class, one of the biggest amounts of space in the entire class, and a fantastic price tag, that's a really impressive formula for success.
Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in to this in-depth review of the 2022 Mitsubishi Outlander SEL Touring. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, please hit that subscribe button down below. It truly helps us out a lot, and we really appreciate all that support from you all. Also, follow us on TikTok as well as Instagram, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.